Hi, I'm Oscar Surrender. I'm the co-founder of Wondercraft, and you are watching Taking Stock.
The third Friday for the great month of September brings not only the quarterly options expiration, but in fact, get this one and all, the largest ever triple witching options expiration on what sets up to be a historic day here on Wall Street. Several of the major market indexes expected to close the tail of the tape here in not just positive territory, but all-time high record territory. We are expecting that to be the case for the NASDAQ Composite, the Dow 30 components, as well as the S&P 500. What happened to the narrative of September being slow for stocks? Everyone got that memo, except for the stock market itself. Welcome to the show, one and all. This is Taking Stock. I'm your host, JD Durkin. We are just moments away, and I do mean just moments, from the ringing of the iconic closing bell right here at the New York Stock Exchange. And the crowd is absolutely excited. Let's do it. Bringing you the latest in terms of the sectors in the S&P 500, most in positive territory for this trading Friday. I like to call it Friday. Technology shares leading the way, also utilities and discretionary. The laggards of those 11 sectors in the S&P that we cover and track most closely include energy, real estate, and healthcare stocks. Time for a quick look here at the Dow leaders, Amgen, J&J, and Apple. And with that, the great team from IBM is here to do the honors at the one and only closing bell ceremonies here at the New York Stock Exchange. Time now for the close from IBM. And with that, we bring about a close on a history-making day here on Wall Street. I know everyone who watched the show yesterday saying, wait, didn't we just have history on Wall Street yesterday? We did, with the S&P 500, the NASDAQ Composite, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average all set for a positive record-breaking close. It does appear as if the broader market is going to finish up on this trading Friday 0.5%. The Dow up fractionally, while the New York Stock Exchange Composite and the small caps both in negative territory. Remember, we set a new recent high for the small caps in yesterday's session. Not the tail of the tape today, but still a lot of green here on the big board. And let's bring in our first guest, shall we? Joy Yang is the head of Index Product Management at Market Vector Indexes. It's great to have you on the show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, JD. Thank you.
Of course, yeah, you can hold that if you like. So we're taking a look at the big board. We do have all-time highs for the S&P 500, the NASDAQ Composite, the Dow. Despite a backdrop of economic certainty, what are you seeing, Joy, in the markets these days?
So it's another exciting week of all-time high. We have these, old school companies like IBM here closing the bell, Oracle, Intel, they're up 30% on a day, 50% year to date. So there's like this euphoria in the market. It got what it wanted with the Fed interest rate cut. But I think there's still this overhanging story around what we saw this week with Fed dependency. So how does the market price in U.S. dependency, U.S. credibility, U.S. trust, and that doesn't seem to be, happening in the markets right now. So the AI story is strong and it's driving this euphoria, but I think what the markets are missing is kind of this boring story around gold and gold miners. So gold, year to date, up 40%, hitting all-time highs. Our Market Vector Gold Miners Index up 100%. So companies, these gold mining companies are hitting 100, 200% year to date.
If you don't mind me popping in, do you have an expectation here? Do you think investors have somewhat overlooked gold? Is it something they should be taking a closer look at despite all of the AI hype, the Fed conversation? I know you're pretty focused on the precious metal space.
Yeah, so they've overlooked gold, but gold is expensive, so that may be one reason. But gold isn't focused on price, it's supply and demand. And what we're seeing is that demand is still there. Central banks are still buying. They want to be less dependent on the dollar, and we're seeing institutionals come back into this space because we have high U.S. debt that's going to be high interest rate payments, and that's going to mean interest rates are going to have to come back down. So, people want to diversify and hedge that risk. So the demand is still there, and with it is silver demand, right? So that's kind of the overlooked gold. But silver also has an AI, component to it because it's got industrial use. And then last month we saw that the U.S. has actually labeled silver a critical mineral. So this strategic asset will have potentially, subsidies as well as stockpiling, which has implications for the price.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned these incredible highs that gold has reached to. Usually when a stock reaches $1,000 or $3,000, you have kind of like a 10-for-1 stock split. Unfortunately, we can't really stock split the price of gold, but what more, if you have an investor out there who's watching the conversation saying, I too would like to learn more about the precious metals, where do I begin my investment journey? What advice would you give that investor?
Well, definitely do your homework, look into gold, but think about the, reasons why gold should continue. We have, Ray Dalio saying you should allocate 10 to 15% into gold. We have Goldman Sachs saying the price will hit 5,000. So there's still room to grow, but if you're uncomfortable with that, think about how you hedge and how you construct a more diversified portfolio, but also look into gold miners. Their PE is around 15, whereas Palantir is around 300, and yet year to date they have similar performance. So there's still a lot more room to grow with this gold or silver story.
Yeah, absolutely. Joy Yang, it is really a pleasure to have you and kick off our broadcast here on yet another history-making day here on Wall Street. Thanks for taking the time. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, Bobby, you and I are going to go for a walk, my friend. Time now for my favorite part of the show. Okay, oh wait, Bob, can we cook on something real quick? Because this is triple witching options expiration, take a look at that number in the top right. That is total traded volume here at the New York Stock Exchange. I don't know if that is quite a record for 2025, but it is right there, more than 4 billion. Our average daily, that number is usually 1.2 billion, but because of the various derivatives contracts that are expiring just in the last 10 minutes or so into the close, that's a mega number, and that is a quarterly Super Bowl for all the designated market makers and the brokers alike here at the New York Stock Exchange. Bobby, we're going to take a look now at a few of the top, what we like to call NYSE notables, some of the top companies that trade here at the New York Stock Exchange. They always have a pretty fascinating story as you go throughout the trading session. Bobby, let's start with a look here at Oracle on the screen, up 4%. This, of course, on news of a potential TikTok deal with China that would include Oracle, Silver Lake, and Andreessen Horowitz. If you follow shares of Oracle, you know it had that huge gap up in Wednesday of last week's session. That stock is up 80% year to date. Bobby, how about over here to the ride-sharing giant Uber, also a 4% gain on the day. This after announcing its new partnership with Flytrex for drone delivery on Uber Eats. The company is saying today we could roll this out into a few new pilot locations between now and the end of 2025. I don't know how I feel about my burrito being delivered to me by a drone. It's kind of up for debate for some people, but regardless, investors like what they are seeing out of Uber. All right, folks, earlier this week, FinTech TV's very own Patricia Wu sat down with InDrive's KSA country manager Abdul Rahman Basalom at Money 2020 Middle East in Riyadh. Take a look.
Welcome to Money 2020 Middle East. We're here at the Riyadh Exhibition and Convention Center. One of the most fun things about this job is learning about all the different companies that are represented here. We're going to learn a little bit more about InDrive. I'm joined right now by Abdul Rahman Basalom, the country manager for Saudi Arabia for InDrive.
Yes,
Welcome.
hi. Well, thank you first of all for the introduction, and I'm glad that we're hosting such events in Saudi Arabia to meet such people as you. So thank you.
Yes, it's been really fun just learning about all these different companies. So we want to hear some more about InDrive, especially since you recently launched in Saudi Arabia.
Right. So InDrive is a ride-hailing company that is globally distributed. We are in 48 countries, and now we are entering Saudi Arabia as the 49th country. So what InDrive is it's a peer-to-peer service. What we have done for the sector is that we have innovated it a little bit. So the customer can actually order the driver and can choose the driver. And they can also have the freedom of the pricing range that they can pick. So when the customer chooses the ride, they can choose the pricing, and based on it, it will go to the captains, and then the captains can have three choices: either to cancel it or not accept it, or they can accept it, and the last choice they can negotiate with it.
Oh, you can negotiate. That's different.
Yes.
How does that work, and how does that power of choice impacted your company and its customers?
Yeah, so we understood once we have launched this idea is that it's really popular, and we thought it's going to be popular for like certain regions, right? But funny enough, we are in 48 countries, and all of them say the same. Like, people love to haggle prices and negotiate. So for me, in the beginning, I thought it's going to be excellent for Saudi Arabia customer base. But obviously, it's working for the whole network. So that's great.
That is great. So, you know, with fintech these days, mobility is key, right? How are you approaching that integration?
Right. For Saudi Arabia, actually, we have empowered the fintech side of the business. We have started with the cashless payments only, and we have seen promising results that is encouraging other markets. So we have integrated the cashless since the beginning when we started Jeddah. And let me just say some flash news. We are actually launching Riyadh during the Saudi National Day, which is going to be September 23rd. So what we have noticed is that a lot of people here are using cashless payments, and that's where the fintech side comes in. Now we have mastered it for Saudi market, and hopefully we can expand it to many other markets with this much aggressiveness, basically.
And welcome back to the show, one and all. This is Taking Stock. We are still live down here on the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange on a history-setting day for the major market indexes. Who better to talk to now than someone who was just on the podium ringing the iconic closing bell? Please welcome to the broadcast Christina Shim. She is Chief Sustainability Officer at the one and only IBM. Thanks a lot for joining us. Great to have you today.
Thanks for having me.
First and foremost, can you tell me about your personal experience being there for the podium, such a closely watched event for the world of Wall Street, and
Yes.
what brings the team from IBM down here today?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually launched our first Sustainable Innovation Prize at IBM this year to celebrate innovation that's happening that's also good for people, good for the planet. And we were celebrating the winners today on the closing bell on the podium together to celebrate all the achievements that they've had and more innovation to come from IBM.
Tell me a bit more about the sustainability contest, who sort of enters it, how
Yes.
long has IBM been doing it, and really the key factors about it that you would most want people to know.
Yeah, so this was the inaugural year, first time. I just joined as our CSO of the company last year. And so it's really to invigorate innovation that's already happening, but bring it to the forefront. There's so many things happening around the company, and it's to really make sure that we're telling those stories appropriately and encouraging more innovation around the company that's using AI, that's thinking about sustainability, but it doesn't have to be the main piece of it. It's just how do we make sure that we're kind of celebrating the intersection of technology and impact. And so that's the impetus for why we started the prize, and we wanted to celebrate more of that around the company, so that's what we did.
Yeah, Christina, I feel like for a long time we've been having a much needed, maybe much overdue conversation about sustainability. And then, of course, you got the seemingly separate conversation over artificial intelligence.
Of course.
But you're really seeming like you're putting the two in the same camp. What would you most want people to take away and better understand about the overlap between sustainability
Yes.
and your use of artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I mean, look, AI is the future. I mean, everyone's been talking about that. That's no surprise. But I think the thing that's missing is how do we think about AI more intentionally? How do we think about the effects of how we use AI as well as all the applications of AI? And there's incredible applications, including drug discovery and human health efforts and, extreme weather mitigation, adaptation, all of these areas that we can use AI for to really support what's going on with people and our communities and all of that, and businesses. And I think increasingly, technology and data is allowing sustainability to be something that is driven for business value and good for the business enterprise. So I think that that's where we're really trying to see that intersection come to life.
And given your role and your expertise in the world of sustainability, but now laying out the case
Yeah.
of how it intersects, if you will, with AI,
Yeah.
what most excites you about not just where AI technology is today and the ways IBM is using it, but really what you think the roadmap may look ahead, even in just the next year or so?
I mean, the technology is evolving so quickly, but I think what I'm really excited about is just how quickly the innovation is happening for good, right? I mean, I think that, of course, we need to be intentional about how we use it, but increasingly there's more and more applications that are so positive We can see that through all the different examples that I just shared, sustainable chemicals and cosmetic formulations, drug discovery, all of those areas that we will be able to see much more in terms of impact, accelerated impact, I think, and augmented impact going forward for good. And I'm really excited to see what more innovation we'll see there.
And Christina, while I still have you, if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken, next week is Climate Week
It
here in
is.
New York. You talk about the heart
It
of
is.
sustainability. What can people expect if they've sort of heard about it in years past and want to know more, especially IBM's role?
Yeah, so look, I mean, there's so much conversation that's happening, I think. There's a lot of action that's also being taken. Next week, there are, I want to say, record number of events that are happening during Climate Week. All companies, all industries, and we're very excited to be participating as part of that. New York is a hub, right? And there's all this conversation about how fashion can be a part of it, how technology can be a part of it, how healthcare, how life science, I mean every industry. So I think I'm really excited about all the conversations that will be happening next week to see how we can further galvanize and take action within our own enterprises and collaborate together to be able to drive more forward.
Congratulations on doing the bell. Thank you for helping us better understand the crucial intersection. Enjoy Climate Week, Christina.
Thank you so
Thanks a lot
much.
for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Christina Shim, Sustainability Officer at IBM. Thanks a lot. Folks, coming up on the broadcast, the latest on startups, raises, and rounds, plus a sit down with the one-on-one with the only Caleb Silver of Investopedia. More Taking Stock coming up after this. We are so back, as the kids like to say. This is Taking Stock, still live down here on the trading floor of the one, the only New York Stock Exchange. Speaking of one and only, my good friend and a longtime pal of ours here on the show, the great Caleb Silver of Investopedia, is back with us on the broadcast. My man, happy Friday. Thanks for doing this as always.
Yabba dabba doo, it's Friday. We got record highs. Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained? Was that Yabba Dabba Doo, by the way? I like that a lot. Okay, so Yabba Dabba Doo, a big Fed week, of course, just like last September. I remember I was with you out in California. We got that 50 basis point cut, a little bit smaller this time. Expectations from the FOMC for 2 more this year, maybe only 1 next year. What most stood out to you from Powell Wednesday?
Well, I look out at the Fed funds rate all the way out to the end of 2026. It looks like interest rates could be down near the 3% range. So maybe 1 cut next year, but maybe a big one. I think investors knew this was coming. This was well telegraphed. The summary of economic projections was interesting. The drama inside the Fed is interesting. But at the end of the day, what I think investors are betting on is rates going down and to the right, maybe at a slower pace, but it's going to happen. And that's why you see a rally around pretty much every sector of the market too, almost every sector overbought.
Yeah, I gotta say, I never thought we'd have this level of palace intrigue for the Fed, but we kind of do. The politicization of the Fed, that conversation is really here, which leads me to the things I wonder that longtime readers and users of Investopedia, what are they searching for in this particular economic environment?
Yeah, they want to know the history of the independence of the Fed. Why is it independent? What happens if it's not, obviously, but they're also watching rates right now, and they know, especially those that both save and invest, that those high times of 4 to 5% in the bank are going away. So they're looking up best savings rate, best high yield savings rate, best CD rates, but they're also looking, those that are looking to trade, best ETFs for the Russell 2000. They know small stocks like lower interest rates, and that's why we've seen this huge rally in the small to mid caps lately. So they're looking for that, but they're also concerned about stagflation right now when we have slowing growth and rising prices. Not a bad Tom Hanks movie. Stagflation is a rough economic condition that can last for a number of years. And of course, triple witching. We had a triple witching day today, so they're always looking that up as well.
Yeah, huge surge. I mean, we did it, Bobby and I, earlier in the broadcast, over 4 billion shares for the triple witching options expiration. You get these every quarters down here. Investopedia also has new estimates, if I'm not mistaken, the true cost of the American dream in 2025. These are bigger numbers than I thought. What do they show?
Yeah, 5 million plus. If you want what we consider to be the wants, not the needs. So we surveyed our readers, what's important to you? And they want a retirement, right? They want to own a home potentially. They want to have a family, send a couple kids to college, have some pets, get a new car every 7 to 8 years, take a family vacation. All that adds up in today's prices. We priced it in today's numbers based on the BLS data, and then we accounted for inflation going out, what a 40 years of working would cost to save that money. The problem is, as you know, if you're in the median income your whole career, you're going to be about $2.5–3 million short of that $5 million. Of course, everybody's dream costs something different. You have a different dream than I have a different dream. But those wants, those basics are going to cost that amount. If you're looking out at that forecast, that's why you got to invest.
I'm almost out of time. What are you looking for PCE print next Friday?
Yeah, prices are rising. We know that, but we also know that a lot of companies have absorbed some of these costs so far, and a lot of countries have absorbed them before they even got here. More smoke than fire for prices, for consumer prices. We'll see what PCE says. I think it's going to be in the 3% range. That's the ballpark we're in right now. The question, and the question Powell asked is this a one-time price increase, or is this a sort of a new trend of prices rising higher over the next couple of years? If you look at the Fed's forecast, they think prices are going to trend higher.
Caleb Silver of Investopedia, my man, thank you for being here. Happy Friday. Yabba dabba do. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you next week. All right, folks, coming up after a very quick break, more from Money 2020 Middle East in Riyadh as Patricia Wu sits down with MasterCard's Saud Swar. More Taking Stock coming up after this.
Welcome to Money 2020 Middle East. Things are in full swing here. We have tens of thousands of attendees, hundreds of speakers, and we're lucky enough to have one of the speakers here with us. Saud Aswar, you are with MasterCard, the country manager for Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Jordan, and other Levant.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you.
Well, we're so excited that you're here. We've seen MasterCard's presence here on the floor. Tell us a little bit about the role of MasterCard here at this inaugural Middle East Money 2020 conference.
So very excited to be part of this inaugural event, Money 2020, first in the Middle East. Welcome. It's great to have you from all over the world, you and other guests. Welcome home. We are a strategic sponsor here at Money 2020. We are doing three things. The first thing we're doing is we're exhibiting. We have a beautiful exhibit. We're showcasing some of our innovations when it comes to agentic AI, cybersecurity, SME, and tools that to enable our partners to penetrate and provide to the SME segment. We are speaking at multiple panels. We are sharing our best practices and trying to solve for real problems that the market is facing. We have speakers from all over the region coming to address these problems and share our knowledge. And then finally, we are working closely. We have been working closely with our partners here in Saudi Arabia over the recent past, and we're signing a few strategic deals here at Money 2020.
Oh, tell us more about that.
So hopefully we're signing a deal with the STC Bank, and this is to support them on remittances and cross-border. We are also signing a deal with Hyperpay, and this is to support them on their SME product offering and their capabilities in that segment. Yeah.
So we've got a little bit of an overview of your priorities for the region. One priority all financial services companies shares, cybersecurity. And you at MasterCard, you guys have committed over 10 billion in cybersecurity innovation in recent years?
Yeah, globally. But let me take a step back and say that by 2028, this will be globally a $14 trillion problem, cybersecurity. So it's a big enough problem to solve for, and it's a serious problem. And as part of our commitment to the kingdom's growth, we have established a Center of Excellence for Cybersecurity here in Riyadh. It is to help our partners and the ecosystem in collaboration with the central bank to look at this problem and see how best we can solve it. So we've been sharing our best practices, we've been training, we've been simulating along with our partners to hopefully, look at this problem more serious. You would know that we have also made recent acquisitions globally for other cybersecurity experts, subject matter experts in this field, and we're excited to bring those best practices here to Saudi and the region.
Yes, it is a huge global problem. How does that investment translate into practical solutions for the region and globally?
So a couple of things. If you look at what the Center of Excellence is up to, we've got global resources, subject matter experts sitting here in Riyadh. They are talking to our partner banks to see how can we simulate cybersecurity threats and how can we ensure that the systems and processes in place across the banking ecosystem, not only payments, is resilient. So simulation, so that's preventative. We are training, so we're speaking to our partners' staff at staff level and leadership level to both tactically and strategically address the knowledge gap and make sure that everyone is aware, because it all starts with us humans. So everyone is aware of how big the problem is. And then we're speaking with other industry partners to see how can we collaborate and bring efforts together and congregate to solve this problem.
All right, folks, let's do it. This is now the end of the show. Next week here on Wall Street, we got a lot of Fed speakers now that lockup period has officially come to a close. We'll also get the third estimates for Q2 GDP. That tends to be a big market mover. We'll get that in the middle of the week. And then, of course, as Caleb Silver and I were just talking about a few moments ago, this time next week, PCE inflation print. That is the Fed's favorite gauge of inflation. It'll tell us where we go from here in a jam-packed week you do not want to miss. Have a great weekend. Monday morning, 9 a.m., NYSE TV Live and FinTech TV Live will both be down here at the New York Stock Exchange, counting you down to the open. That's going to do it. I'm JD Durkin. Have a great weekend. We will see you again Monday. Woo!